right, y'all, if you're thinking of moving to Nashville, Tennessee, you need to watch this video first, because so many people are moving to Nashville thinking it's a great place to live. And let me tell you, it is. But it's not for everybody. I mean, so many people come here thinking that they're coming to where there's sweet Southern charm and music on every single corner. Okay, well, that part's true. But they don't expect the traffic nightmares. They don't expect that if you happen to have your favorite lunch spot in the middle of 440 or interior loop, there's going to be tourists out the line and you're going to have to wait for days. They don't expect the long waits for restaurants, especially if you're a native Nashvillian, but that's a whole nother point. If you wanted to watch that or hear about what all of us natives think, then you need to watch this video here that was from last week. But today I'm going to tell you about 10 reasons that you might want to rethink Nashville, simply because these are true and maybe you can't handle it. Trust me, I'm a realtor here in Nashville. I'm a native Nashvillian. I've talked to hundreds of families who've moved here, and I listened to all of the things that they have to say about Nashville and the things that surprise them. So I know what I'm talking about. Well, let's dive in. Number one, the traffic is going to make you question your whole life choices. Nashville traffic isn't bad. It's downright maddening at times. Let me tell you, if you're coming from a small town where your traffic jam is 2 cars at a 4-way stop, then you're going to hate this. This is going to be a real eye-opening experience. I-24 between Murfreesboro and Nashville, absolute gridlock between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to maybe 9 o'clock and back again 4:30 to 5:30. It's the most congested stretch of highway in the entire state. There are other areas, I-65, bottleneck at Franklin, and then again in Brentwood at the exits. People trying to get on or off the exits. Certain times of the day, but those are the times you may or may not be going to work. Downtown, if there's a Titans game or a concert at Bridgestone, then just go ahead, cancel your plans. You're going to be late. And don't even get me started on our drivers. We drivers in Nashville used to be pretty good, but there have been so many people coming from other areas. People don't know how to use their blinkers. People often stop at highway access points. They stop rather than merge into traffic. You're going to not get in town faster by cutting off people and going in and out of traffic. So just slow it down. But our traffic has gotten worse, and the drivers have certainly gotten worse too. I think some of them think they're trying out for the Indy 500. It's ridiculous, but it's true. Number two, the weather can be a mess, and so are we in the snow. If you want predictable weather, don't move to Nashville. Our climate is all over the board. In the spring, the tornado season, we get about 12 to 15 tornadic activity and weather alerts a year. Now, we don't have them fall to the ground often, but you do need to watch for it. Summer is 95 degrees with about 80% humidity in August. You will sweat in places you didn't even know you could sweat. But actually, think about it. That's good for you. You don't need to buy your own sauna. The summer is hot. The spring is beautiful, but possibly tornadic season. Also, that's in the fall. You know, tornadoes happen when hot air slams with cold air. And when does that happen? In the spring and the fall, when seasons are shifting. So we got that possibility. Winter, usually mild. But when we do get snow, the entire city shuts down the day before it even happens, because everybody's running to the grocery store to get milk and bread and eggs and anything else they can think of, chips, all those things. They're always going and they're prepared. And it's actually no fun if it doesn't happen. Typically what's going to happen is the holiday season, Christmas, right after Christmas, when parents are so excited to get their kids back to school and get things back to normal, there's going to be a snow day called the first week back, if not the first day back. That can be exasperating, but it doesn't last long. That's the beauty. It doesn't last long. However, please, if you're new to Nashville and we have one of these events, it's probably started with ice. It's probably not something you can see. It's black ice. And I don't care who you are and how expert you are driving in snow in Colorado or driving in the snow in Boston, we have ice under there. Nobody can drive on ice. Be careful. Also, we cannot use chains on our tires. Look, I know all these things. Our weather can be kind of iffy, and it changes. If you hate it, wait 48 hours. It's going to be quite different. Flooding. Yeah, that's a thing too, possibly. As you know, we are built around the Cumberland River goes all the way around Nashville. The Harpeth River and the Little Harpeth flow into it from the south side going to the west. So what you've got is in heavy rains, and we're city with good rains. That's why we're so beautiful. We do possibly have flooding, and that's the thing. Remember the flood of 2010? We had 13 inches of rain in 2 days. No soil can absorb that, and it had already been raining. That rain on the riverbanks and some of the ones downtown where they opened up the dam just swallowed up homes. It was incredible. Highways, entire neighborhoods were ruined. People still bring that up to this day. I still remember it as the worst flooding I've ever seen. But please know, if you don't want to live in a 100-year floodplain, then it's very easy not to buy a house in the 100-year floodplain. But is it a possibility that it will flood here in the next couple of years? Yes.
Yes!
Is it a probability that you aren't going to have any problems with it whatsoever? Yes. However, don't drive through streams. Don't drive through rivers. However, many of our roads that are smaller roads may go through what is a dry creek bed. And in these heavy torrential rains, that may have water in it. Don't drive over that. Don't do it. Number 3, Nashville is booming, and that can cause some problems. Now, Nashville used to be a sleepy little town. Since 1990, it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And in 2023 alone, we added 38,000 new people. It was said that we were having 100 people a day in 2022. Thankfully, that slowed down, but not by a heck of a lot. 36,000 new people to the metro area alone is gonna cause some issues. And with that comes the constant construction and rising home prices and just growing pains. If you've moved here thinking that you're going to get inexpensive homes, an easy commute, cheap land to build new construction on, sorry to burst the bubble. Home values have doubled in the last decade. Suburbs like Mount Juliet and Nolensville, Fairview, Spring Hill, Hendersonville are growing so fast that the infrastructure can't keep up with it. Good luck finding a back road that isn't packed during rush hour. We're making strides to make changes, but with that progress is coming some growing pains, and we've got them. Number 4, if you can't handle this, you may not want to be here. Country music is everywhere. Now that's what people say, but it's truly not even true. Look, country music is down by Broadway. Now, if you're in the Kroger or you're in a shopping center, you're going to hear music, but it's not just that twangy country music. Country music purists don't even think we have country music anymore. They think of it as pop. And so, whatever you may be thinking, yeah, you're going to hear music everywhere you go. You're going to see it on the street corners. You're going to see it outside of Target. You're going to see, because we have people who have a lot of talent. But if you really, truly hate country music and you maybe just only want blues, I don't hear a lot of blues. I don't hear a lot of opera. But other than that, you're going to hear music everywhere you go. So if you absolutely cannot stand the sound of a steel banjo or pop music or country music, you've been warned. Number 5, I alluded to this a second ago, but the home prices have skyrocketed, especially in the last couple of years. The median price of homes in December of 2024, we ended up the year right about $465,000 inside of the Nashville SMSA. Of course, we have areas that are less expensive than that. And of course, we have lots of areas that are far more expensive than that for that median price of homes. But even that is astronomically higher than it was just 15 or so years ago, when you might have been hearing how Nashville was a very, very affordable area. We're now a top 50 city, and I just heard that we are marked as number 27 in the cost of living of that top 50 cities. So we're right in the middle. If you're used to New York, parts of Boston, LA, if you're used to a lot of these areas that were very, very expensive, yeah, we're cheap, relatively. Want a home with an acre of land? Good luck. Expect to pay well over $700,000 in Williamson County, if you can find it. Now, you're more likely to find that in Mount Juliet, Wilson County, an acre, older home probably, or maybe just raw land, if you can find that raw land. But that's going to be more like $400,000 to $450,000. I often get people saying, I just want to build my own house there. Well, problem is, you can't find the dirt. Second problem is, you will probably have to have a septic tank. Most people don't really know what to do with a septic tank. Lots of things to think about. That's why, and this reminds me, if you're thinking of that move, and I haven't scared you off so far, you need to give me a call. Let's talk about your specific needs. I can fill out a little bit more of based on what you want, what you can expect, and it still may not be the right spot for you, but it's a free call. Use it. Are you looking to rent a home? A one-bedroom home, I've just seen these details yesterday as well. The average one-bedroom home inside the Nashville SMSA is going to end up being $1,800 a month for you in a condominium or a townhome. Now, if you want one of the high-rise luxuries, it's going to be a lot more than that. If you want a single-family home, it's going to be quite a bit more than that. So just something to think about. Renting is not inexpensive either, and it's very hard to find. Number 6, tourists are going to take over the city. Nashville is basically like Disneyland for adults. Bachelorette parties, they're everywhere. Those pedal taverns, the beer drinking, the screaming, the dancing, the girls wearing cowboy boots and cowboy hats. First of all, those are not Nashvillians. Please know those are not Nashvillians. Those are those bachelorette parties. Again, they're contained pretty much to a smaller area inside that 440 loop, but they're everywhere. Pedal taverns. If you don't know what those are, imagine a drunk tour group pedaling through the streets at about 5 miles an hour, screaming country songs. I really don't know why that would be fun, but they think it is. And if you want to grab lunch, maybe you go to Hattie B's Hot Chicken, or my favorite place, an old Nashville favorite, Pancake Pantry down by Vanderbilt. You're going to be standing outside in the line for quite a while. Unless it's a nasty rainy day, then you probably only got a 20-minute wait outside. So if you do hate crowds, as I do, you're going to need to stay away from Broadway. Broadway is going to be your worst nightmare, especially Thursdays through Sunday nights. But even outside downtown, tourists will be in the 12th Southeast Nashville and the Gulch areas. Just be forewarned. Those are also the areas that all the great murals that you've seen are. So, it's something you need to do once or twice, but just not all the time. Number 7, bugs, mosquitoes, allergies. You hear my voice right now? That's the sound of an allergy voice. It may only be January 31st, but I think I don't need Punxsutawney, that's his name, that tells us whether spring's coming. I can tell you, it seems like spring's on its way. I already am feeling it. Allergies are the bane of my existence. Although I've lived here in Nashville my life, I would never leave. Mosquitoes that could eat you alive, especially late afternoons in damp areas in the grass. You've been forewarned on that one too. Spring pollen will wreck your sinuses. We are always in the top 10 worst cities for allergies. Snakes, they're not going to be in areas unless you really like to hike in the great outdoors. You're probably not going to find those. People like to talk about it. You're not going to find it. Armadillos, yeah, you might have to pass one along. I don't know how they got across the Mississippi, but we do now have some armadillos, and you're often going to find them as roadkill. Possums, we've got the possums. We also have skunks. However, you're not going to see the skunk, you're just going to smell the skunk. Foxes, yes. Coyote, possibly. Again, not that big of a deal, but people like to talk about it. Number 8, the summers are hot and humid, and it's just the way it is. June is okay. July and August can be really difficult months if you just hate the heat and you hate the humidity. It's not really the heat, but it is the humidity. The summers in Nashville are brutal. July and August, it regularly hits 100 degrees with about 80 to 90% humidity. You walk outside, it feels like a wet blanket smothering your hair, especially mine. Forget it. Don't bother. And actually, this is pretty good. In the summer months, put your hair up in a hat, put it in a ponytail. Everybody does it. We all look the same. So that's kind of a nice balance, isn't it? You don't have to worry about it. Forget the makeup too. 9, people are friendly, but there is small town gossip. Southern hospitality is real, but so is gossip. Your neighbors will know your business. They will kind of watch out for you. They know when you come, they know when you go. That's a good thing for safety, but it kind of makes you feel weird. If you move into a small suburb, be prepared to prove yourself before you get invited. If you move to a small neighborhood, don't be surprised if you're invited to the next weekend's cookout. Be friendly. Introduce yourself to the neighbors and let them get to know you. If they don't, they'll talk about you. So just go ahead and do it. If you bring a good casserole or a good recipe from down home, people will love you. Just join in. Number 10, you're never going to want to leave. For all our quirks, Nashville has a way of growing on you. If you can handle the traffic, the heat, the bugs, the allergies, the tourists, you're just going to fall in love with this. I was just speaking to someone yesterday on a podcast, and he had lived in 15 different cities before he was 30 years old. Can't even imagine that, as I've never once moved. But he lived in 15 different cities. And when he moved to Nashville, he said he and his wife, as soon as they got into the city limits, just felt like they were home. He said they never felt like that before in his entire life. He's here. He's not leaving, and he has a great podcast, also a really good app that he's designed that I'm working on with him because I want to help my customers finding the best service providers within the area. But I was excited to hear him say that. He couldn't quite put his finger on it either, but he felt at home immediately. And honestly, that's what happens to so many of my customers. So are you ready? Let me know in the comments if you are serious about a move to the Nashville area or seriously thinking about it, whether it's 6 months or 2 years from now. It's never too early to start the research, start the planning, and talk about what you need, and then we can start I'm setting up a real dynamic search set up directly for you. Meantime, be sure to check out my relocation guide here. I'll help you find the right spot for you. I'll see you next week.